Oh, then bring it on. Oh, unless you're afraid you'll lose to a bunch of girls. This is a line from the episode The One with the Football from the show Friends. This episode is the 9th episode of season 3 of Friends. Friends is an iconic American television series from the 1990s. Many people know of Friends, but in case you've been living under a rock or you're just Gen Alpha, I'm going to give a brief explanation of what the show is about. Friends ran from 1994 to 2004 on the NBC network. To quote Britannica, the show focuses on a group of 6 young adults who are either roommates or neighbors in New York City's Greenwich Village. The show takes place in the friends' apartments as they visit one another. The program revolves around the character, individual and collective search for sex, commitment, and meaning. The friends consist of 3 men and 3 women. Varied personalities and shortcomings allow for broad audience identification and abundant comedic moments. 6 main characters are Monica Geller,
my star student. You called me that before, so I took the liberty of fashioning a star out of aluminum foil. Now, no pressure. You like my cookies? You give me the star.
Chef known for her competitiveness and cleanliness, and she is also the younger sister of another one of the main characters, Ross Geller.
All yours.
I hope you cleaned your hair out of the drain.
I hope you clean your hair and you do.
Who is a 3 times divorcee throughout the course of the show, and a paleontologist who is known for being extremely smart and also goofy. Monica's childhood best friend and roommate, Rachel Green, is another one of the main characters.
Relax. That was 10 blocks from here, and the woman was walking alone at night. I would never do that. Mom, come on, stop worrying.
Rachel's known for her fashion taste and for once being a spoiled brat due to growing up wealthy. However, this changes over the course of the series. Ross also had a huge crush on Rachel when they were growing up, which eventually leads to them dating. Their relationship is very on and off. It's like iconically known for being on and off. Another main character is Phoebe Buffay.
Smelly cat, smelly cat.
Monica's former roommate and one of her best friends. She is a masseuse who is known for being a bit ditzy and for being a musician who often provides the group with a quirky outlook on life. Chandler Bing, another main character,
She was totally at my mercy.
Were you so late because you were burying this woman?
lives across the hall from Monica and Rachel, and he was Ross Geller's college roommate. Chandler is a data and statistic analyst known for being sarcastic and having a great sense of humor that he often uses as a defense mechanism. Eventually, Monica and Chandler end up together.
You think you knew I was here?
Joey Tribbiani is the last friend and main character.
Well, what I do is I look a woman up and down and I say, hey, how you doing?
And is Chandler's roommate. Joey is a struggling actor, is well known for being a good-natured womanizer, who is extremely loyal and protective of his friends. Friends was an extremely successful show, and it won 6 Emmy Awards. It has maintained a chokehold pop culture, with each of its 6 main characters becoming household names, and the actors who portray them going on to have successful careers. Those actors are Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matthew Perry, rest in peace, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer. Since its original run in the 90s to the early 2000s, Friends has maintained popular via streaming services and pop culture references, with many fans of the show picking a favorite character they identify with and claiming to be them. For example, I am definitely a Monica, in case you couldn't tell from my outfit. I'll do a fit check, but Monica. And I take pride in that. I love Monica Geller. Friends isn't safe from criticism, and partly because it was made in the 1990s, it is unfortunately full of a lot of harmful stereotypes, specifically pertaining to gender, which is something I have noticed in my rewatchings of the show. The sexism in the show has been heavily discussed in many articles. Something that always stood out to me when watching the show was the treatment of Monica, because she's my fave, and how her competitive nature is portrayed as a negative thing by the other characters in the show, and also by the show itself.
It's crazy! Who can even remember why you started fighting in the first place?
She's often mocked, and the show portrays her as crazy for having ambitions and being so competitive. Monica is typically competitive with her brother, Ross, which is a dynamic that was set up by their parents because of their preference for their son.
Ross hasn't worked at the museum for a year!
Monica and Chandler are living together!
Competitive sibling dynamic is on full display in the episode, the one with the football. And in this video essay, I'm going to be fully diving into this episode and exploring how Friends enforces gender roles throughout this episode. I am Ella Ortoblowen, and I hope you enjoy this exploration of Friends and how the show and the specific episode reinforce gender roles and the subtle sexism within the show. Setup for this video essay, in case you haven't noticed, is different. I'm sitting on my bed, filmed differently. Normally I'm seated like in front of my vanity, and then I'll have my camera like by the window, but because it's like now November, the sun sets at 4:30. As you can see, it's already getting dark out. So we had to like improvise a little bit and be sitting on my bed talking to you. My computer is right here. It's my script. Unfortunately, I will be looking down at my script a lot. I apologize. I know that can be annoying, but I also am someone who needs a script when doing video essays because I just like to have stuff to refer to, and also I have ADHD and I am prone to going on tangents and rambling. So this helps me stick to what I'm supposed to say, but even then I'll still go off. So I'll be looking down at this. But yeah, this is my bed. Welcome to another corner of my room. I'm going to do my fit check now. My outfit today is very inspired by Monica. Here's my fit check. You can't really see it. My Monica Geller right now. Yeah. As I have previously explained, I will only be focusing on the 9th episode of the 3rd season of Friends, aka the one with the football, which aired on November 21st, 1996 on the NBC network. I honestly could do a whole video essay on Friends and exploring the sexism within the show, but that video essay would be hours long, and honestly, I just don't have time for that right now because it's November and I'm a college senior. So instead, I will be focusing on just the one with the football. This episode takes place on Thanksgiving, which is very timely for right now because it's currently November and Thanksgiving is rapidly approaching. This episode starts with an opening shot of the 3 main guys, Ross, Chandler, Joey, all sitting on the couch in Monica and Rachel's apartment watching football. Right from the jump, this episode is setting up this dynamic between the guys and the girls. A dynamic that is inherently sexist because as all 3 guys sit on the couch, you can see behind them the 3 women in the kitchen cooking food for Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, this dynamic of the women doing all the work on Thanksgiving, or honestly any holiday, and the men laying around and watching the football game is a common occurrence. And this dynamic has been portrayed in many forms of media throughout history to various effects, sometimes criticizing this dynamic, but oftentimes highlighting it as a joke or a punchline. This bit of the guys being lazy and not doing anything is only fueled more when Phoebe says to them, "Hey, it's your Thanksgiving too, you know. Instead of watching football, you could help."
Hey, it's your Thanksgiving too. You know, instead of watching football, you could help.
She's referring to them helping with cooking and preparing the meal for Thanksgiving. The guys then respond to her, "We know," all in unison. But they don't get up from the couch. They stay on the couch. They just say, "We know," and remain there. This is played off for comedic effect within the show, but when watching, I couldn't help but cringe at this clear representation of misogyny. It's a tale as old as time. The women do all the work on the holidays, always taking care of everyone around them, while the men sit on their asses and don't help out in any way. This dynamic is outlined in the article, "Thanksgiving is the Worst Holiday," written by Destiny Hall. Hall outlines why she despises Thanksgiving, and one of the reasons she gives is the double standard that occurs during the holiday. The worst part of Thanksgiving is that while the men watch football, the women would clean up the mess. For a while, I was proud of the matriarchy within my family. There was something good knowing that women made this holiday special. These good feelings left when I realized that I was expected to clean up as well, while my cousins watched football. This is only reinforcing this double standard. Even though they are playing it for laughs, they don't actually critique the implicit double standard. Instead, they highlight Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe in the kitchen cooking food for Thanksgiving, with Monica being obsessive over how the food should be made, which again is played for laughs. Then the show cuts to the opening credits. After the opening credits, Phoebe walks over to the chair by the couch to join the guys, and she says, "You know, for once, I'm going to sit down and try to watch one of these things."
For once, I'm gonna sit down and try to watch one of these things.
Referring to the football game. Just as she sits down, the three guys all jump up saying, "Halftime."
Halftime. Hey, who wants?
Phoebe at this moment is trying to join in on the guys' activity. She's trying to show interest in something that three of her best friends all enjoy. But the guys immediately exclude her from this experience by jumping up and no longer paying attention to the game once she tries to join them. Phoebe openly admits that she has never watched football before, but she is willing and open to sit down and watch it with three of her best friends. But instead of allowing her to join in on their activity, the guys immediately gatekeep her and exclude her, keeping the football viewing as a guy-only activity. However, this exclusion doesn't last too long because Joey quickly asks, "Hey, who wants to throw the ball around a little? Maybe get a little 3-on-3 going."
To throw the ball around a little, maybe get a little 3-on-3 going.
Rachel immediately jumps up and expresses her interest in this. "Oh, that would be so much fun." Phoebe then quickly adds in, "Oh, can I play too? I've never played football, like ever."
That would be so much fun.
Oh, can I play too? I've never played football, like, ever.
Phoebe has never played football or watched it, but she's expressing her interest in playing because she wants to participate in this activity with her best friends. I think it's important to highlight Rachel and Phoebe's eagerness to play football because they are both open and willing to participate in an activity that the guys all enjoy. This is a trait I really admire in friendships/relationships, the willingness to try activities that maybe you haven't before, but someone you're really close to enjoys these activities. Willingness to try new experiences for your best friends. I feel as if it's significant to point out that both Phoebe and Rachel are both instantly interested in playing football. Whereas I wonder if the guys would behave the same way in return about an activity that the girls like. Again, I think this is a subtle moment of sexism. If the girls were to say that they didn't want to play football, it would be written off because they're girls and football isn't for them. But instead, they want to please the three guys, so they agree to play. Rachel then asks Ross if he wants to play football. "You want to play football?" But Ross responds with, Monica and I aren't supposed to play football."
Do it, Ross.
What?
Want to play football?
Monica and I aren't supposed to play football.
Ross and Monica are brother and sister, and they have a really interesting dynamic in the show. They are very close, but also extremely competitive with each other, a dynamic that is fueled by their parents. Emily White explains this dynamic in her article, Relatable and Competitive, Monica Geller Analysis. She analyzes Monica's character, examining why exactly she is so competitive, specifically with her brother. As Emily states, Monica Geller has been second to her brother Ross all her life. In one episode, Ross said he was the favorite child because his parents thought Judy Geller, his mother, was barren and couldn't have children, making Ross a miracle baby. Monica has had to compete with her brother for their parents' attention and affection since they were little, and this sibling competition continued into adulthood. After Ross informs the others that he and Monica aren't allowed to play football, they question why. Monica then explains that every Thanksgiving, they used to play football with their family, and every year, Monica and Ross would typically be captains of the teams. And one year, they got extremely competitive, and Monica broke Ross's nose. Anyway, Ross and I were always captains, and it got kind of competitive, and one year, I accidentally broke Ross's nose.
Anyway, Ross and I were always captains, and it got kind of competitive, and one year, Killer Bowl 6, I accidentally broke Ross's nose.
However, Ross then interrupts her and claims that it wasn't an accident. It was so not an accident. She saw that I was about to tag her, so she threw her big fat grandma arm elbow right into my face and just kept running.
It's so not an accident. She saw I was about to tag her, so she threw her big fat grandma arm elbow in my face. Just kept running.
Ross here is making a rude comment about how Monica used to be overweight. Big fat grandma arm elbow. I find this comment incredibly sexist and rude because he did not need to comment on Monica's body. Ross and Monica continue to argue, but their competitive sibling dynamic is on full display. Finally, they go into a corner of the kitchen and frantically whisper back and forth, trying to figure out whether or not they should play football with the rest of the gang. The audience can't hear their conversation except for when Monica loudly calls Ross a wuss.
What?
In my opinion, the word wuss is inherently sexist, because as Gramophobia explains, the noun wuss is perhaps a blend of wimp and puss. And the noun and adjective wussy could be a combination of wimp and pussy. Puss is a shortened version of the word pussy, which, to quote Merriam-Webster, which is another word for vulva. That was a lot of definitions in a short amount of time, so I'm going to explain why I feel the need to define this word. Pussy is another word for female genitalia and is often used as an insult against men. Men are perceived as being weak or effeminate. That's how a word that is attributed to a female organ is used as an insult. Contributes to the belief that the worst thing a man can be perceived as is a woman. Wuss is a combination of wimp and pussy, making the insult even worse, and inherently linking being wimpy to female genitalia. Unfortunately, at this moment, Monica is being sexist. She's trying to make her brother feel poorly for not wanting to play football, so she calls him a wuss, essentially telling him that he is effeminate and weak. Monica is successful, though, because Ross immediately agrees to play after being called a wuss. The show then cuts to what used to be an ad break before the days of streaming. Then the next opening shot is of the gang at a park warming up to play football. You see Rachel asking Ross to pass her the football. Wait, no, honey, throw it to me.
Wait, no,
honey, throw it to me.
Here you go.
That almost hit me in the face.
I think it's important to point out that Ross and Rachel are dating each other during this episode. They're very off and on throughout the series, so I think it's good to highlight that they are actively dating during the events of this episode. Ross then throws the ball to Rachel. However, Rachel smacks the ball away instead of catching it, and she says, "That almost hit me in the face." This is played for laughs and is unfortunately a stereotypical portrayal of women/girls playing sports. There's often this trope in the media that women/girls can't play sports, that they can't catch or throw balls because they're weak or because they care about silly things like their hair or makeup or nails, and that impacts how they play sports. This is an extremely harmful stereotype because it tells young girls and women that they can't be good at sports simply because of their gender. And unfortunately, Friends is reinforcing this stereotype. After Rachel fails to catch the ball, the gang picks team captains. Monica and Ross ultimately end up being team captains. Monica then picks first for her team, and she picks Joey.
So that means I get to pick first.
Right.
Joey?
Thank you.
And Rachel is upset by this because Monica is her best friend and roommate.
Monica, I'm your best friend.
Ross then gets to pick, and he reassures Rachel that she'll get picked. "Sweetie, don't worry, you'll get picked. Chandler."
Sweetie, don't worry, you'll get picked. Chandler.
Obviously, this hurts Rachel's feelings because her boyfriend just reassured her that she'll get picked, but instead, he then immediately picks Chandler, the other guy. Again, this is all played for laughs, but I think it's noticeable that both Monica and Ross pick the two guys first. Monica then picks Phoebe over Rachel, which hurts Rachel's feelings even more.
Phoebe.
Ross then says, "Sweetie, now I pick you."
Sweetie, now I pick you.
You don't pick me, you're stuck with me.
Which, in my opinion, is so demeaning. Throughout the show, all of the characters use the terms like sweetie and honey and stuff like that as like terms of endearment for each other. It's not like demeaning inherently, but in that moment, it feels really demeaning when Ross is like, "Sweetie, like, I pick you now." Ross is talking to and treating Rachel like a child when she is a fully grown adult. And she has every right to be upset over being picked last. But Ross is treating her as if she is childish and foolish for being upset. The gang then breaks up, ready to play the game. Monica sets a timer that will tell them when they need to end the game so that she can finish cooking the food for Thanksgiving.
People, listen, I've got exactly 28 minutes before I have to baste again.
Monica then calls huddle up and runs in one direction, but her teammate Joey speaks over her and says, "All right, huddle up, right over here," and runs in the opposite direction of Monica. And Phoebe follows Joey. I think it's interesting how Joey doesn't listen to Monica at this moment, and instead he picks the spot they huddle up in. When in the huddle, Monica asks Phoebe, "You know what you're doing, right?"
Phoebe, you know what you're doing, right? Yeah.
Because it's Phoebe's first time playing football. Phoebe says she does know what she is doing, and then Monica says, "Okay, Joey's gonna catch it, and you and I are gonna block."
Okay, all right, Joey's gonna catch it, and you and I are gonna block. What's block?
Phoebe then questions what Monica means, and this is played for laughs. Of course, it's so silly that a woman doesn't know how to play football. The game finally starts, and Joey has the ball, and he quickly evades Ross. Ross falls to the ground dramatically. This reminds me of the way that boys/men play soccer, and how easily they fall to the ground if another player even dares to graze them. As a former soccer player, I played my entire childhood. I remember witnessing many moments like this when watching boys' soccer games. I always thought it was so silly compared to how tough me and my teammates were when we played. You know, we would get trampled on and get right back up and continue playing. At one time I had a girl step on top of my foot with her cleats on so hard that it left a bruise on my actual foot. It got through my cleats and stuff. I just kept playing. Obviously, that's not that bad of an injury, but still, it just goes to show you the different pain tolerances that men/boys and women/girls have. After Ross falls, Rachel runs over to check on him. "Are you okay?" But Ross immediately brushes her off and he gets up. "Come on, let's go."
Score! 7-0. Are you okay?
Come on, let's go.
Ross is clearly embarrassed that Joey evaded him and that Monica's team ultimately scored a point. He takes out his embarrassment and frustration on Rachel, who was just being kind and trying to check on her boyfriend. The game continues on, and Chandler has the ball, and Rachel calls for it. "Over here, over here."
2 minutes to be through here, over here, over here.
Chandler throws her the ball, and Rachel fumbles it and says, "Ha, I almost caught that one."
I almost caught that one.
Chandler then sarcastically responds, "Yeah, great. Now the score is 7 to almost 7.
Great, now the score is 7 to almost 7.
Rachel is really proud of herself for almost catching the ball. And instead of uplifting her, Chandler is rude to her. Again, Friends is reinforcing the stereotypical trope that women can't be good at sports through the character of Rachel. This continues as Ross and Chandler discuss plays, and Rachel asks what she should do.
Down and out to the right, okay?
Wait, what am I gonna do?
And Ross says, you go long. And Rachel asks, "Wait, how long?" And Ross responds, "Until we look very small."
You go long
Well, how long?
until we start to look very small.
Until we start to look very small. Ross is essentially telling Rachel that she is useless to their team and that she should go far away from him and Chandler so that they can play. During the earlier seasons of Friends, a key component of both the characters of Chandler and Joey is their obsession with women and how horny and desperate they both are. That is something that changes throughout the course of the show. Unfortunately, is featured in this episode. A woman named Marga, she's Dutch, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but Marga shows up to the park that the gang is playing football at, and Chandler spots her.
Joey, you want to play football or you want to hi? I'm Chandler.
Hello, Chandler.
Small plot point in this episode is that Chandler is trying to get over his ex, Janice. If you know Janice, you know.
No, I'm still working on mine.
So when he sees this woman, he realizes this is a perfect opportunity for him to get over her. Chandler points her out to Joey, who also thinks that Marga is attractive. Chandler and Joey argue over the woman, and Chandler kind of convinces Joey to let him go after Marga. And Joey says, "All right, if it means that much to you, I'll let you have her."
No, I was thinking about, for me, as part of that whole getting over Janice thing you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, that. All right. If it means that much, yeah, I'll let you have her.
Thanks.
Which Chandler says, thanks. What? Let me have her? What do you mean? Like, if you didn't, I wouldn't have a shot?
What? Let me have her? What do you mean? Like, if you didn't, I wouldn't have a shot?
The implication that Joey will let Chandler have Marga is so gross to me. Joey is almost implying that he has some sort of ownership over Marga, despite the fact that they just met, and it completely strips Marga of her autonomy. And neither Chandler nor Joey stop to consider what Marga might want. But back to the football. After Chandler and Joey fight over Marga a bit, the thing gets back to the game. And Ross is again discussing plays with Chandler and Rachel. Ross turns his attention to Rachel and says, and sweetie, but
I want you to run a post pattern to the left, okay? And sweetie?
Yeah,
Rachel interrupts him. Yeah, I know, go long. You know, it's like, all I'm doing is running back and forth from the huddle.
yeah, I know, go long. You know, it's like all I'm doing is running back and forth from the huddle.
Again, Ross is treating Rachel like a child. He is talking down to her and not even letting her play the game. As the game continues, Phoebe gets her first touchdown just as the buzzer that Monica had set off previously goes off.
Run, baby, run!
Joey and Phoebe all celebrate, but Ross immediately claims that the touchdown doesn't count because the buzzer had just gone off.
Hello, the buzzer buzzed. Doesn't count.
The siblings go back and forth before Ross says, cheater, cheater, compulsive eater.
Does so count.
Cheater, cheater, compulsive eater.
This is incredibly gross because Ross is weaponizing an insecurity and an issue of Monica's against her to make her feel badly about herself. Throughout the series, there is this running gag that Monica used to be overweight when she was younger, which for some reason was supposedly hilarious in the 90s. I just don't think it's funny. There are countless jokes and remarks regarding Monica's weight and her body, and it's always something that makes my heart break for Monica's character ever I rewatch Friends. It's also not hard to assume that because of the criticism that Monica received about her weight from both her parents and her brother and her peers throughout her life, she then developed an eating disorder. And that's hinted at actually in a future Thanksgiving episode in the show, but we're not talking about that one. Which could definitely be what Ross is referring to here. Luckily, this comment is regarded as harsh by all the other friends. But I still think it's important to highlight how Monica's own brother is using her insecurity against her. After making this gross comment, Monica and Ross continue to argue and fight, and Ross essentially claims that Monica can't win without cheating, which Monica responds with, no, listen, I'm not going to go through this with you again, okay? Just once, I want to beat you when you can't blame it on the broken nose, the buzzer, or the fact that you thought you were getting mono. Let's just call this tie score and it's halftime.
Listen, I'm not gonna go through this with you again, okay? Just once, I want to beat you when you can't blame it on the broken nose or the buzzer or the fact that you thought you might be getting mono. All right, let's just call this tie score and it's halftime.
Finally, the gang decides to call it a tie and the show cuts a commercial break. The next scene is the gang resuming the game, and Joey, Monica, and Phoebe come up with a game plan. Monica tells them that she'll cover Chandler so that they can score. Monica then tackles Chandler right in front of Magda, who he is trying to impress. Monica gets up after tackling Chandler and says to Magda, whoa, whoa, tackled by a girl? Bet you don't see that every day, do ya?
Tackled by a girl. Because you don't see that every day, do you?
This comment isn't explicitly sexist, but I feel like it contributes to the belief that women can't be as strong as men. A sentiment that I hate. I played soccer, as I previously mentioned, and rugby for a long time, and I can tackle a guy double my weight and size, and I have. Someone's gender and or height/weight are not an indication of how strong they are or their ability to tackle someone else. I appreciate that Monica is strong and is able to tackle Chandler because I also probably could tackle Chandler. But the comment of like, bet you don't see a girl tackle a guy every day. It's like, well, women can tackle men. Women can just be just as strong as men. Like, it literally doesn't matter. The rest of the friends call Monica out for tackling Chandler because that's playing dirty, because it was supposed to be a game of touch.
Whoa! What's with the tackling?
Then they all agree to start playing dirty. We then see a montage of them playing dirty, and the entire time, Rachel is just standing there because no one will pass her the ball, or really, no one will, let her do anything. Eventually, Monica and Ross begin to argue again, of course, and Monica questions why Ross can't accept that she is beating him. "You're so pathetic. Why can't you just accept it? We're winning because I'm better than you."
You're so pathetic. Why can't you just accept it? We're winning because I'm better than you.
Ross doesn't answer, which just makes Monica even more frustrated, and she says, "All right, you know what? I'll prove it to you, okay? I'll trade you Joey for Rachel, and I'll still win the game."
All right, you know what? I'll prove it to you, okay? I'll trade you Joey for Rachel, and I'll still win the game.
Ross is shocked by this because this means it will be the girls against the guys. What? The guys against the girls? That's ridiculous, Monica, because I'm only down by 3 touchdowns.
What? The guys against the girls? See, that's ridiculous, Monica, because I'm only down by 3 touchdowns.
The implication in his statement here is that he can easily get 3 touchdowns if he has all the guys on his team. In Ross's mind, the guys are better than the girls at football. Monica responds with, "Oh, then bring it on. Oh, unless, of course, you're afraid you might lose to a bunch of girls."
Oh, then bring it on. Oh, unless, of course, you're afraid you might lose to a bunch of girls.
I like how Monica calls out Ross for being afraid to lose to a bunch of girls, because it will challenge his masculinity if he loses to his little sister. Which is absurd because it's just a silly football game. It ultimately really does not matter who wins or loses. But at this moment, it seems as if the writers are trying to call out Ross for his sexist mindset. After splitting up into their new teams, Rachel asks Monica if she'll let her play.
You let me play?
To which Monica does not respond. The writers just had a small win with kind of calling Ross out for his sexist mindset, but now they're reverting back to their sexist tropes by continuing the narrative that Rachel can't play football because she is a girl. While the girls are discussing plays, the guys decide to ask Magda to pick who she likes, either Chandler or Joey.
What boys do you like? What are you doing?
It seems as if they are allowing Magda to have autonomy, which just inherently in that sentence is insane. She doesn't have autonomy if they're allowing her to have autonomy. However, they're still reinforcing the fact that Magda has to choose a guy, has to end up with a guy, and she can't just exist without being with one of them. Obviously, she's very much a side character in this episode, and she doesn't appear again in the show, but it's still, she has to end up with one of them. This poor side character is objectified and stripped of her autonomy continuously throughout the episode. The guys never stop to ask if she is actually interested in either one of them. They just assume. Magda ultimately picks Chandler, and
If I had to choose right now, which, by the way, I find really weird, I would have to say Chandler.
Chandler celebrates because he won the girl. Eventually, Magda's just kidding, I don't want either one of you, and then she leaves. So yeah, she's not going to be mentioned from now on, but yeah, that's what happens. And objectifying her and making her appear to be a prize that can be won, which also is putting her on a pedestal. Ross then reels Chandler and Joey back in by giving them a pep talk, and he does this by saying, "We have no time, and we are losing. We are losing to girls."
We have no time and we are losing. We are losing to girls.
And Chandler responds with, "We're not going to lose to girls."
Girls.
We're not gonna lose to girls.
Hey,
Ross is reinforcing that they need to lock in because they are losing to girls. Chandler, Joey, and Ross all view as embarrassing and a threat to their identities as men. Society tells guys that they should be able to easily beat women at sports because women are the so-called weaker sex. France is reinforcing traditional gender roles here by implying that men should be stronger than women by the lines that these characters say. As the guys are having their pep talk, Monica taunts them by saying, "Are we playing football or what? Come on, you hairy-backed Marys."
Are we playing football or what? Come on, you harried-back Marys.
Monica uses a woman's name in this insult, implying that the guys are behaving like a bunch of women because they aren't actively playing football and are talking instead. She's also implying that they are women who have hairy backs. contributing to the gross comments made about women's bodies in the show. Because, oh, a woman with a hairy back, oh, gross, haha, that's something to laugh at, something to make fun of. And reinforce gender roles. Monica then gives Rachel and Phoebe a pep talk. We have to do this. We are playing for women everywhere. Okay, just think about every lousy date that you ever had, okay? Every guy who kept on the TV while you were making out.
We have to do this. We are playing for women everywhere. Okay, just think about every lousy date you ever had. Okay? Every guy who kept one eye on the TV while you were making out.
I like this pep talk because it implies that beating the guys in this game of football is a feminist win. I would consider them beating them a feminist win. Monica concludes her pep talk by saying, okay, come on, this is for all womankind. Let's kill them. Rachel echoes Monica's sentiment.
Come on, okay? Come on, this is for all womankind. Let's kill them. Yeah, kill them!
But Phoebe says, all right, no, well, I want to kill them too, but they're boys, you know? How are we going to beat 3 boys?
All right, well, no, I mean, I want to kill them too, but they're boys. You know, how are we going to beat 3 boys?
Again, the implication that 3 women can't possibly beat 3 men in sports is brought up. The writers are continuing to bring up gender norms and reinforcing gender roles. After this comment, we see a sequence of scenes of the girls playing against the guys. The girls attempting to beat the guys through non-traditional means. In this sequence, Phoebe flashes Chandler as he runs by her with the ball. Rachel jumps on Joey's back, and the 3 girls all try to pull Joey back. Gwen tells the audience that the girls can't win through traditional means, aka playing football, throwing the ball, scoring. So instead they must resort to using their sexualities or all just like dogpiling onto Joey to win. The game continues. Rachel complains that everyone has been underestimating her. God, I'm not lame, okay? I can do something. I can throw. Would you let me throw? Come on, this is my game too.
I'm not lame, okay? I can do something. I can throw. Would you let me throw? Come on, this is my game too.
I feel so poorly for Rachel throughout this entire episode because she is treated so poorly by all of her best friends and her boyfriend. All her best friends doubt her ability to play sports, which she has continuously put in the effort and tried to participate in the game. Even if she isn't the best at throwing or catching, she still showed up. She's still participating. She's still playing. That's awesome. Monica finally relents Rachel that she'll throw her the ball. All right, Rachel, you sweep behind. I'll pitch it to you. You throw it downfield to Phoebe. All right, break.
All right, Rachel, you sweep behind. I'll pitch it to you. You throw it downfield to Phoebe. Hey.
They break from their huddle and they do this play. However, just as Rachel gets the ball, the 3 guys all advance towards her. Rachel runs away panicked and runs out of the park and around the fence that surrounds the park. As she runs back into the park, she throws the ball at Monica and hits Monica in the eye. Unfortunately, the writers are continuing to portray Rachel in such a sexist way, portraying her as a silly girl who can't throw a football and who can't play sports. Obviously, Rachel's failure in this moment frustrates Monica, who is highly competitive, as we know, and she slightly lashes out at Rachel, which is not okay. The gang gets ready for the next play, and Monica tells Rachel to go long again.
Phoebe, get open. Rachel, go long. Okay.
Which, of course, upsets Rachel because she really just wants to prove that she can play football. The girls break from the huddle, and the next scene is fully in slow motion. Phoebe throws the ball to Monica, and Rachel goes long. And Joey and Chandler both cover Phoebe as Ross advances towards Monica. Rachel is the only one open, and she begins jumping up and down and calling for the ball as Monica holds the ball, trying to figure out what to do. And she ultimately decides to throw the ball to Rachel. Rachel successfully catches the ball and runs and believes that she scores a touchdown. I scored a touchdown! We did it! The girls all race towards Rachel and embrace her, celebrating the win before Chandler points out something. Hey, Rachel, funny thing, actually the end zone starts at that pole, and you're 5 feet short, so we win.
You know, Rachel, funny thing. Actually, the end zone starts at that pole, so you're 5 feet short, so we win.
Phoebe says, wait. So explain something to me, though. If nobody tagged Rachel, then isn't the play still going?
Wait. So explain something to me, though. If nobody tagged Rachel, then isn't the play still going?
The gang then all look at the ball in the ground. Monica and Ross immediately both dive onto the ball. As they struggle for the ball, Monica says, "Let go, I'm a tiny little woman."
Let go! I'm a tiny little woman!
Again, this reinforces the idea that women are smaller and weaker than men. It's also saying that Ross should let Monica have the ball because she is a woman and because she's like smaller and weaker. The rest of the gang try to remind the siblings that it's just a silly game, but the Gellers don't listen. Episode concludes with the rest of the gang all eating Thanksgiving food in the apartment.
That thing is amazing. Do you think we should bring them some?
When they're hungry enough, they'll come in.
While Ross and Monica remain in the park, both still holding on to the ball as it begins to snow.
Hey, it's starting to snow. Let's go.
Now that I have broken down the one with the football fully and also provided explanations for how the show reinforces gender roles, it's time to wrap things up. The one with the football isn't the most sexist episode of Friends, but it does reinforce traditional gender roles and stereotypical gender norms. It continues throughout the rest of the series too. In this episode, Monica is portrayed as being overly competitive and crazy for caring so much whether or not she wins, a trope that persists throughout the rest of the seasons. Ross is also portrayed as competitive as well. Their competitive sibling dynamic is on full display here. However, I feel as if the way that Monica is portrayed is a bit more negative than how Ross is. I also want to point out how Rachel is portrayed, how she is underestimated by her best friends and boyfriend continuously throughout this episode, and ultimately she is successful in catching the ball, but her best friends can't even let her have that because she didn't technically get a touchdown. Phoebe also reinforces gender roles. She has never watched football before, she's never played football before, and she has to weaponize her sexuality in order to play successfully. So yes, Friends reinforces gender roles, especially in the one with the football. However, that doesn't mean that Friends isn't an enjoyable show. I personally still love Friends. I am a huge feminist. I can still binge rewatch the show and clap during the theme song, if you know, while also being critical of the portrayal of gender and gender roles within the show, especially when it comes to my girl, Monica Geller. Because unfortunately, at the end of the day, Friends hates competitive women. Hope you enjoyed this analysis of Friends and all things football, Thanksgiving, Monica Geller, competitive women, and gender roles. Thank you so much for watching.
Ooh, this town's for the record now. The intersection got a target, and they're calling